What is up, guys? BK voiceover here, and here's our Week 12 game breakdown. The game just went to all zeros against the now 4-7 Las Vegas Raiders. Seattle falls in overtime 40-34. So let's go ahead and break down how we got to this point. It's not going to be a happy breakdown, but yeah. We still got to go over it. We got to see like kind of what happened, like break down where the faults occurred. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll just go and do the play-by-play to start things off. So as far as the starts to the game, this game could not have started much better for Seattle than it did. First play of the game, Derek Carr throws an interception right into Quandre Diggs' hands. Seattle capitalizes on that, and after two plays, a 12-yard Kenneth Walker rush puts us on the board. We're up 7-0 early, which is awesome. Second play, the Raiders are not going to make the same mistake. They go down after a long 11-play, 75-yard drive to tie it up 7-7 on a pass to Amir Abdullah. Seattle gets the ball, doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot. 5 plays for essentially 0 yards due to some negative plays and a sack from Geno Smith. So we give the ball back to the Raiders, and then Derek Carr proceeds to throw yet another interception to Quandre Diggs. So we get the ball back with really good field position. And we do go down the field, aren't able to score a touchdown. We're up 10-7. We hold them to a 3-and-out on the next drive. Defense started off great. We go down the field and score a field goal. Could have set it up. We could have set it up for a touchdown. Unfortunately, a catch by, what was it? I think it was a catch by Lockett was overdone, or was undone by I think it was an ineligible man downfield. I think Phil Haynes on the RPO thought that they were actually rushing the ball. So he was too far downfield on the throw. So it was a good call. He was definitely out of position. So we go up by 6, get another Jason Myers field goal, which is great. That takes us to the end of the first. Second quarter, they go down. The Raiders capitalize on some chunk plays at the end of the drive on a Matt Collins pass for 36 yards. Totally blown coverage on a flea flicker play gets them the touchdown. So we are now down by 1 point. It's 14-3. Next drive, Seattle is trying to push, and then I don't know if there was a miscommunication between DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but they kind of like ran into each other and ran into Denzel Perriman. I think Geno might have assumed that Tyler Lockett was going to continue running his route, so he threw the ball as though he was, and ended up throwing it right into the hands of Denzel Perriman. So Geno throws the pick. Not as fantastic showing from there. They do capitalize on that play. One play, 30-yard rush from Josh Jacobs puts them up by 8. However, Seattle does come back from adversity pretty well. Geno does a really good job of that. So they drive down the field, 7 plays, 75 yards, and they score on a 35-yard Tyler Lockett touchdown pass, which is really nice. So then, following that, again, they drive down, score a field goal, and Seattle just elects to run out the clock. So going into the half, Seattle is down 24-20. Seattle did get the ball to start the second half, and they capitalized on it right away. 7 plays, 75 yards, 3 minutes, 14 seconds, and they score on a Kenneth Walker 14-yard rushing touchdown. So Seattle goes up by 27. They tie with a field goal. Seattle punts. Then Las Vegas punts again. Then very similar to the Buccaneers game, and you're going to kind of notice a pattern here when I go to the box score. Similar to the Bucs game, Seattle had the opportunity. They were driving, and then on a terrible, I don't know, I think Kenneth Walker just had issues with the exchange, but he drops the ball, and the fumble is recovered by Chandler Jones. On the bright side, nothing came of that drive. The Raiders didn't get any points off that drive. They turned it over on downs. Seattle does capitalize on that. They go right down the field and score again. So does the Raiders. Seahawks try to go down the field, and a DK Metcalf, which was initially ruled a catch, was overturned. One of, I think, the biggest blunders of the referees this entire year, because that basically killed the drive. They overturned a pass which shouldn't have been overturned by DK. There was not indisputable evidence that he did not have possession of the ball. But either way, it ends up being 3rd and 10. So instead of getting a first down, it ends up being 3rd and 10, and then he gets sacked. Geno gets sacked by Max Crosby, and they're forced to punt it away. Luckily, they don't try to push down the field, even though they had 2 timeouts. They could have tried to go and maybe get a score, but I guess they didn't want to risk turning the ball over. So they do a couple of rushes, they play it safe, and then they take it into the half, and it's tied 34-34, so we go to overtime. They drive a little bit. Daniel Carlson sets up to make a 56-yard field goal, misses it. Seattle gets the ball back with great position to go down and drive. A great great pass by Lockett for 5 yards. So it's 2nd and 5. Kenneth Walker gets stood up at the line, so it's 3rd and 5. And then Geno Smith has an incomplete pass to Homer. So we kick the ball back to the Raiders. And honestly, with how our defense was defending the run today, I don't think any of us should have been surprised by what happened. At the end, what do you know? One play, Josh Jacobs runs 86 yards for a rushing touchdown. Game over. Raiders win 40-34. So, yeah, a very, very infuriating end to this game. Both sides of the ball had major issues in this game, but one side of the ball deserves the lion's share of the blame. And I'm not trying to defend Geno here or anything. Yes, this is similar to this is just the Buccaneers game from 2 weeks ago, but it was a higher scoring game. This played exactly like the Buccaneers game did. Geno had a good game, but he made a couple of critical mistakes. The interception that he threw to, I think it was Denzel Perriman, yeah. They capitalized on that, and they took it back for a touchdown. But at the end of the day, Seattle also had 2 interceptions of Derek Carr today, one of which went for a touchdown, the other of which was a field goal. So even though we turned over the ball the same amount of times, I'm not getting copyright strike today. We got 7 points off of we got 10 points off of turnovers. They got 7 points off of turnovers. So we won the turnover battle, as much as that matters in a loss. On the day, the stat lines for Geno were fine. He was 27 for 37, 328 yards, 2 TDs, a bad interception, was sacked a few times, had a passer rating of 106.6. The sacks weren't necessarily his fault. Abraham Lucas was getting abused by Max Crosby basically the entire game, so he didn't really have a whole heck of a lot of time to throw the ball. There were a couple of plays that should have been sacks and a couple of other throws that should have been interceptions. But yeah, this was just a rough game in general for the offense as a whole. But I don't think the Lions share the blame. While Geno Smith does deserve some of the blame for the interception and the fumble and his inability to drive down and win the game, he doesn't deserve the Lions share the blame. I think Kenneth Walker deserves a bit of the blame. He was completely ineffective in the rushing game. It's not 100% his fault. The interior of this offensive line could not open gaps for him to save their damn lives. They were up against one of the worst, if not the worst interior defensive lines in the entire NFL, and they couldn't get anything done. Nothing. He had 14 carries for 26 yards and 2 touchdowns. Two of those rushes went for 26 yards. The other 12 went for 0. against one of the worst run defending teams in the entire NFL. I don't get it. I don't understand why all of a sudden the worst defenses in the NFL, the worst rush defenses in the NFL, all of a sudden play amazing as soon as they play us. It's kind of a trend. It's 2 games in a row that's been the case. So yeah, the 2 touchdowns. If you're in fantasy and you have Kenneth Walker, I'm sure you're happy that you have the touchdowns. But he was completely worthless in this game, which sucks because we know how talented he is. He's shown how talented he is. But yeah, rushing game was a complete non-factor, just like the Buccaneers game. 23 carries combined for 26 yards. 23 combined carries for 65 yards, 2.8 yards a carry, not even 3 yards a carry. You're not going to win time of possession, and you're not going to win games if you can't establish the run. On the other hand, let's take a look at how Vegas did running the ball. 40 carries for 283 yards, 7.1 yards a carry, and 2 touchdowns. We're not at the defense yet, but oh boy, are we going to get there. And I think you know who I'm putting most of the blame for this loss on. Receiving game, receivers were fine. DK was getting open. He was a big part of this game. 11 catches for 90 yards, didn't have a touchdown. Tyler Lockett had a great touchdown catch. I think he's partially to blame for that interception that Geno threw, but I don't put the blame. It's not his fault. He had a touchdown on the day. He was effective when he got the ball. Goodwin, 3 catches for 48 yards, made a couple of really key plays. Travis Homer, fantastic as a receiver, 2 catches for 45 yards. Noah Fant was really used a lot early in the game, and then we just never saw him again. He had 3 catches for 34 yards, and then we just never saw him again. We just didn't use our tight ends the rest of the game, which I don't understand that. Disley, 2 catches for 17 yards. Kenneth Walker, 1 catch for 13 yards. DJ Dallas, 2 catches for 13 yards. Now we're going to get to the defense. And yes, as many mistakes as the offense made, yes, Geno threw a pick. Yes, there was a bad fumble. Yes, the running game was not effective at all, whatsoever. When your team scores 34 points, you need to win. You win the game. Granted, I'm not going to say that all of those, 10 of those points were supported by turnovers and 2 interceptions by Quandre Diggs. So Diggs, just understand that 34 points is saying the offense did all the work. Not necessarily. The defense, they were supported by a couple of good field position by a couple of good defensive plays. But still, when you're scoring 30 plus points, you win the game. You win the game. You should win the game. No, that's it. So why did we lose? We scored 34 points. How did we lose this game? Well, to start off with, while Devontae Adams, he had a pretty big game, 7 catches for 74 yards. I kind of expected Devontae Adams to have a big day. Tariq Woolen is good. He's played very well. So has Mike Jackson. Mike Jackson got picked on a lot today. Tariq Woolen held up okay. He had a couple of broken coverages here and there, but for the most part, he held up pretty well. But the reason we lost this game is because Seattle could not stop the run. It's very similar. We could not establish the run for ourselves, and we could not stop the run to save our lives. On top of that, we could not get any pressure on Derek Carr all day. And it's not because, he was getting the ball out quick. He might have done that sometimes, but there were times where he had 4, 5, 6 seconds in the pocket and went untouched. This defensive line could not get any pressure. We weren't scheming up any interesting blitzes to manufacture pressure. Derek Carr had all day to throw. He was very comfortable, and that's why he threw 25 of 36 for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns. Yes, he threw the 2 picks to Diggs, but those were pretty early. He got pretty locked in after that. So, yeah. Jordan Brooks had some good plays. He made some good tackles at the line of scrimmage to stop Josh Jacobs every now and again. They put him in coverage again on Moreau, and I get it. He's a tight end. You should be covering that. But we know Jordan Brooks is not a good coverage linebacker, and Diggs needed to be there to like support him. So many of the offensive defensive schemes this game seemed completely out of place for what they needed to do. So that was kind of a sad thing to watch. So as far as the defense goes, the defensive line was terrible all game. They couldn't get pressure to save their lives. They got a couple of QB hits and a little pressure, and Punifor had a sack, so whatever that's worth. But yeah, when you have one sack in 4 games, 1 sack and 4 quarterback hits against one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, when you are playing a guard who is literally giving up the most pressure from an interior offensive lineman in the entire NFL, that's kind of unacceptable. Like, what are we paying these guys for? Why did Poona Ford get such a big contract? Why is he getting paid so damn much? Because he can't stop the run. He can penetrate occasionally, but when he gets double teamed, he's useless. Al Woods made a couple of nice plays, but couldn't stop it where it matters. Shelby Harris made one nice play and then could not do anything the entire game. Cody Barton, so many bad misses. Quandre Diggs, he had the 2 picks, and I want to say that, he had the 2 picks, he must have been playing amazing. I want to say that he played great, but my God, some of the plays that he screwed up, he massively screwed them up. Like, it's kind of pathetic. Tariq Woolen played okay as far as I can tell. They ate against this line. Nwosu got pressure a couple of times, but who cares? Darrell Taylor couldn't do anything. Mafe didn't do anything. Bruce Irvin didn't do anything. If there was one place that I put the blame for this loss on, it is purely, I can't say purely, but the line share, the blame for this loss needs to go on the defensive line. Like, this is atrocious. Utterly atrocious. Nwosu, you were had 7 sacks coming into the Buccaneers game, and you have done nothing these past 2 weeks. Like, I don't know. Are they just... And the worst thing is it doesn't seem like they're throwing any interesting blitzes out there to try to generate this pressure. What they seem to be doing instead is they keep throwing out the same base pass rush, and just it still never gets home. So yeah, you can put blame in a lot of different places. Oh, I guess I missed one. The offensive line this game, probably one of their worst games of the entire season. Cross and Lucas were getting abused most of this game, especially Abraham Lucas. Max Crosby made him look so pedestrian today. They couldn't create any holes in the run game. Plays were getting blown up right at the line of scrimmage. The blocking was terrible. The tackling was terrible. Lots of blame to go around, but if I had to put the majority of the blame somewhere, it's definitely on this defensive line. Followed by the offensive line, followed by Kenneth Walker, followed by Gino. So, this is a game they should have won, and they couldn't pull it out, which is very, very frustrating. I mean, you can probably hear, I'm trying not to be sound annoyed, but yeah, you can probably tell that I'm pretty frustrated. So. Anyways, I'm just going to try and purge this game from my memory if I can, because I really don't want to. We had playoff aspirations going into the bye week, even after losing to the Buccaneers. After losing this game, I think this should bring everybody down to earth. This pulled us out of the playoff race as far as I'm concerned. Good teams, when they come out of their bye following a loss, good teams bounce back from bad games, and it doesn't seem like they did today. It seems like they made the exact same mistakes and lost for the exact same reasons that they lost to the Buccaneers, and it's really frustrating because they had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and the Raiders are not good. Let's not pretend that the Raiders are good. So yeah, that's my rant. Seattle goes on the road next week to play the Rams in their own house. And they're probably not gonna have Stafford. They're probably not gonna have Wolford. They're not gonna have Kupp. They're not gonna have Allen Robinson. They're not gonna have half of their offensive line. So if they can't beat this Rams team, yes, I know it's an away game, but if they can't beat this crippled, useless Rams team in Week 13, I don't know what we're gonna do. This team is done for the year. And I guess what's most frustrating is, like, yes, I went in this season with, like, no expectations, and that was a great thing. But then we went up 6-3, and we were beating good teams. And when we were beating, it wasn't like close games. We were beating good teams by a good margin. So I miss not having expectations, because now I have expectations for this team to do good. And this is a game they should have won. And this is a game that they pissed away. So they really need to regroup. They need to do some soul searching, because if they lose to this Rams team in Week 13, I don't think they have any room to, like, talk trash or say that this team is a contender. And honestly, they've already exceeded my expectations for the season, which makes it even more frustrating that this loss was so upsetting to me, because this is a game we should have won. All right, well, that's the end of my rant. They go to play the Rams next week. If you guys like the content, as always, please be sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Let me know I'm doing a good job down in the comments and what you guys thought about the game. And I will see you guys after the Rams game next week. Hopefully, I will be a lot more cheery mood. So yeah, thank you guys so much. And as always, go Hawks.